So today we're going to dive into one of the most haunting books in modern literature, Osamu Dazai's No Longer Human. And our way in, it's through three simple but really unsettling photographs. Each one tells a story, mapping out one man's complete and total disconnection from the world. Okay, so this first picture is of the main character as a little boy. But when you look closely, something is just wrong with the smile. It's not the kind of happy, natural smile you'd expect on a kid. It's all forced and wrinkled and deeply weird. The book literally calls it a grinning monkey, like an animal trying to imitate a human expression but getting it horribly, grotesquely wrong. Now we move on to the second photo. This is him in his student years, and you can see there's been an evolution. The smile is more refined now. He's clearly practiced it. It's a clever attempt to look normal, you could say, but it's still totally hollow. There's just no real feeling behind the eyes. It's a fabrication, a mask that's getting better, for sure, but it's still just a mask. And then there's the last photograph. And honestly, this one is the most disturbing of all. He's an adult now, and all that effort, all that performing, it's just gone. No more monkey grin, no more fake smile, there's nothing. Just a completely blank, expressionless face. The narrator even compares it to a corpse, something so empty of life it doesn't even have wrinkles. So what you have here really is a mystery in three photos. It's this backward journey from a horribly forced smile to a practiced but empty smile to nothing at all. It's a progression from a desperate performance of being human to just completely giving up. And it just makes you ask, what on earth happened to this guy? To figure that out, to really understand the man in those pictures, we have to go back, way back. We need to look at our protagonist, Yozo, and his childhood, because that's where this profound, terrifying disconnect from humanity really begins. This is the huge question that just hangs over the entire story. I mean, for most of us, right, being human is something you just get. It's instinctive. But for Yozo, it was like a puzzle he could never, ever solve. A foreign language he was just never going to learn. You have to try and see it from his perspective. For Yozo, humanity wasn't about love or connection or community. For him, human society was one single powerful fear. It was just this terrifyingly complex system of rules he couldn't grasp, acted out by people he couldn't understand. And this comparison just perfectly shows the huge gap between his world and ours. For example, he says he never once actually felt hungry. He just knew that when his family sat down to eat, that was his cue to put food in his mouth. He didn't see a subway as transportation, just a weird, fun machine. And where we see social rules, he saw nothing but a minefield of potential punishments. And look, his own words just hammer this point home. His whole life wasn't driven by normal human things like needs or wants. It was driven by one single paralyzing thing, his absolute terror of other people. So think about it. If you're living in this constant state of terror, in a world you can't make sense of, what do? How do you survive? Well, Yozo develops this really fascinating and ultimately tragic coping mechanism. He learns to get by becoming a clown. This was the big strategic question at the center of Yozo's life. He couldn't be himself because his real self was completely alienated. So he had to invent a character that people could understand, and maybe more importantly, a character they wouldn't hurt. And that solution was clowning. But let's be clear, this isn't about being funny to spread joy. For Yozo, making people laugh was a desperate act of self-preservation. It was the only tool he had to seem like he was connecting with people without ever revealing the terrified outsider he was underneath. And it wasn't random either. He had a whole method for this. First, he'd just watch other people, who he basically saw as the enemy. Then, he'd do something foolish on purpose. The goal? Make them laugh. Because laughter was the perfect distraction, a social smokescreen. And for a little while, he was safe. No judgment, no conflict, no real interaction. And you see this stuff all through his life. He'd wear the wrong sweater just to get a laugh out of his family. He'd purposely take a ridiculous fall in gym class, turning it into a little comedy sketch. And that right there explains that weird, forced smile in the first photo we saw. It was just another performance for the camera. But, of course, living a lie like that, It creates a whole new kind of terror. This constant, nagging fear that someone, someday, is going to see through the act, that they'll realize the clown isn't real. For Yozo, the idea of being exposed, that was the worst thing imaginable. And then, it happens. His absolute worst fear comes true. After one of his comical falls, a quiet classmate doesn't laugh. He just comes up to Yozo later and says those two chilling words. It was on purpose. In that single moment, the mask is just ripped away. He's been seen. So this entire struggle, this lifetime of not getting it, of his main defense mechanism failing, it all leads us to the profound meaning behind the novel's title. In the original Japanese, the title is Ningen Shikkaku. Now, we usually see this translated as no longer human, but a more literal and I think more powerful translation is disqualified from being human. And there's a really important difference there. No longer kind of implies he was human once and then lost it, but disqualified, that suggests he never even passed the test to begin with. So Ningen Shikkaku isn't something someone else calls him, it's his own verdict on his life. It's not that society kicked him out, it's that he decided he failed the most basic entry exam. He feels like he's missing the essential parts, empathy, genuine connection, that you need to even qualify for the human race. And this last quote, man, it just perfectly captures the feeling of that final, empty photograph. He's finally reached a point where there's nothing left. He's not clowning anymore, he's not afraid anymore, he's not happy, he's not sad. He's just gone. It's the ultimate disconnection, a place where nothing matters, because everything just passes by. Which leaves us with this one kinda uncomfortable question to think about. Yozo's story is obviously an extreme case, a total breakdown. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of what we call being human, our smiles, our jokes, our day-to-day interactions, is actually real, and how much of it is just a performance we put on for everyone else?